People in the Fever were like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going on around there.
A lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
People within the Fever organization were like, y'all, that's not even my point. There's a lot going on behind the scenes and players have different opinions. Some might say, this isn't where I want to be, while others are fully committed to the team. But let's not forget when Sheryl Swoopes said this. DeWanna Bonner just broke her 6-month silence on Twitter, and she didn't return with a casual, hey, I'm back post. No, she came back with a statement so powerful that it sent shockwaves throughout the WNBA.
This WNBA offseason killed a lot of dumbass narratives, right? It really did. And I hope they're gone for good. And I hope we spend so much less time discussing nonsense.
Not only is she officially joining the Indiana Fever, but she's also shutting down one of the most tired and baseless narratives in the league. The idea that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever fan base are toxic. That narrative took over this WNBA offseason, pushing a lot of unnecessary negativity. But, thankfully, this offseason proved just how ridiculous those claims were. And now, hopefully, we won't have to waste any more time discussing this nonsense. One of the biggest talking points was that players didn't want to go to the Fever because of their fans.
I don't get on here often because this app is insanely too much sometimes. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the love I've received so far. Deaf, not unnoticed. The love is...
You might be wondering, isn't this the team that everyone supposedly wants to avoid? Well, Bonner isn't buying into that narrative. She saw all the unnecessary drama coming from so-called legends like Sheryl Swoopes, the endless debates on social media, and the same old tired talking points. But instead of staying silent, she decided to set the record straight. She saw the wild claims from people online calling her every name in the book simply because she chose to play in Indiana. These were the same people who confidently said, oh, she'd never sign with the Fever for obvious reasons.
To all the crazy people on social media calling her every name under the sun because she chose to play in Indiana. These are the same people that are like, oh, she'll never play in Indiana for obvious reasons. And she went and defended the Indiana fans and was like, she was basically like talking positively about the fans that were interacting with her positively, and was responding to one of the crazy posts about her being like, I'm getting screenshots of things you were saying about me, can you just... She's gone online for 2 times. One is to call out the crazy people attacking her right now because she joined the Fever.
But guess what? She did. And not only that, she stood up for Indiana Fever fans, acknowledging the love and positivity she's received from them. She even called out one of the critics directly, saying, I'm getting screenshots of the things you're saying about me. Can you just stop? Imagine Bonner scrolling through her phone, enjoying a quiet moment, only to come across yet another round of misinformation. Fans questioning why she'd sign with Indiana.
I think we've seen it stamped out this offseason, and one of those narratives was people wouldn't want to go to the Fever because of the Fever.
Lists clinging to the outdated belief that no one wants to play there. Instead of rolling her eyes and ignoring it, Bonner did something more powerful. This moment was bigger than just defending herself. It was about setting the record straight for Fever fans. Bonner responded, not with a simple clapback, but with a statement that ended the conversation. She didn't just say she appreciated the Fever's fan base, she went all in, saying, y'all are passionate and real. That's not toxic. That's what real fandom looks like. And that was all it took.
What it do, peeps? Sheryl Swoopes is been missing. Sheryl Swoopes is MIA. They got a APB out for Sheryl Swoopes. If you see Sheryl Swoopes, she did a lot of talking a few months ago about the Indiana Fever, the locker room environment, how people didn't want to play there, how people wanted to leave.
Bonner made it clear. I don't get on here often because this app is insane sometimes, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the love I've received so far. It's definitely not gone unnoticed. The love is real. But she didn't stop there. She went even further, calling out the hypocrisy in how different fan bases are treated. Why is it that when other teams' fans show passion, it's called support, but when Fever fans do the same, it's suddenly a problem?
That thank you from DeWanna Bonner, being olive branch to us all, to focus on the basketball. But I did think it was worth sharing, simply because I know a lot of those fans, the new fans, felt rejected and beaten down a lot. And I think this is symbolic.
Why is it that now, when Indiana is winning and gaining national attention, the haters suddenly have an issue with their fan base? This wasn't just a personal statement from Bonner. She was addressing the league-wide bias against Indiana since Caitlin Clark arrived, and she wasn't about to let those false narratives slide any longer. Bonner has only tweeted twice recently. Once was to call out the trolls attacking her for joining the Fever, and the second, to stand up for her new team and its fans. This isn't just about fan reactions.
In my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it, and we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media.
And it's funny because if you're seeing like DeWanna Bonner, if you're seeing like Natasha Howard, on social media, Natasha Howard's posts are getting 100 times more likes, and DeWanna Bonner's being reacted more positively probably than she ever has been in her career.
It's about respect. Something Indiana Fever fans and players have been denied for far too long. And Bonner, she's done staying quiet about it. What makes this even more significant is that Bonner isn't some young player looking for social media clout. She's a WNBA legend, a multi-time champion, a veteran whose words carry weight throughout the league. When she speaks, people listen.
The Fever fan base being painted with this broad brushstroke was always just stupid, really. There's no other word for it, because Caitlin Clark brought more fans to the league than it's ever seen. So many of them are Fever fans, and the new fans that come in outnumber the old fans that were already there. You don't want to tell those people. Their Fever fans are probably starving for that. And I think seeing the validation of the players choosing their team.
This isn't just an ordinary player venting online. This is a respected figure stepping up, calling out the nonsense and defending her new team. And Fever fans, they've been waiting for this moment. Bonner made it clear that Indiana isn't just some struggling franchise barely holding on. With Caitlin Clark leading the way, the Fever are building something special.
A lot of fans, I think, felt unwelcome as a result of that, because when you look at every sport and every fan base, there are going to be bad apples. With every group of people, there are. And the larger that group becomes, of course, then the larger the small percentage of bad apples are. But if you've ever followed sports, you see people acting stupid online or even live at games.
They aren't just trying to be competitive, they are coming for the top teams in the league. And Bonner, she's fully committed to that mission. She's not just signing. With Indiana, she's becoming part of a movement. And if you've been paying attention to social media,
it is, if you're good and you're playing well, it's great to be a Fever. If you're playing badly, it is the worst place you can be. And if you're a WNBA player, you've got to be able to handle it. With Natasha Howard, it was very clear that like that potential for stardom, which she never had in her career, no matter how good she's been, outweighed like any potential like downsides of playing for the Fever. And then for DeWanna Bonner, she had all those connections to Indiana. She had connections to Stephanie.
You'll notice something interesting. Posts from Fever players like Natasha Howard and DeWanna Bonner are blowing up like never before. Bonner, in particular, is getting more positive reactions than at any other point in her career.
No argument that the Fever are a great basketball destination, that Caitlin Clark is a great basketball player, that they have a great fan base. I guess that's ultimately what you're going to see, right? Because so many of those Fever fans, I've seen them, they're the ones watching Unrivaled. They're the ones watching women's college basketball. Others, and like I've said, there's so many pros to playing for the Indiana Fever. The pros being that you get more attention, you get more endorsements, you get a chance to win, you get fans on the road or away, or at home. All these things come to you when you're playing for the...
And the best part? The response to her tweet has been massive. Indiana Fever fans are rallying behind her, and the people who swore that no one wanted to play for Indiana? They've gone silent. Where's Sheryl Swoopes now? Nowhere to be found.
A lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
A few months ago, Swoopes was vocal about how no one wanted to be in Indiana, about the supposed locker room issues, and about players wanting to leave. But now, all that talk has disappeared. Now, the only thing left is to watch as the haters scramble to rewrite history. They'll pretend they never doubted the Fever.
Regardless, so many players decided they were going to go to the Indiana Fever in the offseason, which was the death knell for a lot of those narratives. They weren't traded. Cunningham was traded there, but Natasha Howard signed with the Indiana Fever. And I think more importantly, DeWanna Bonner signing with the Indiana Fever was representative of that. Sydney Colson as well, of course. But Bonner, because she is, in a relationship with Alyssa Thomas, and Alyssa Thomas had said what she said about fans after the playoff loss, it goes to show you that I think hopefully all that stuff has been put in the rear view. And of course, Bonner is then Sydney Colson, who was on the Aces, and so many of the Aces fans were always, and Colson chooses the Indiana Fever. It really does. I do think the BS is behind us, which is just...
They'll act like they weren't trashing Caitlin Clark's impact, but it's too late. The Indiana Fever have already won the battle off the court, and now they're gearing up to dominate on the court, too. Bonner's public support for Indiana Fever fans wasn't just a small statement. It was a game changer. Indiana isn't just a basketball team anymore.
It's a lot. It already helped. Knowing that they get to root for Caitlin Clark helps. But seeing Kelsey Mitchell come back and that welcome, she's being celebrated. And we celebrated her too, right? That's how they felt. We celebrated her. People tried to tell us we didn't, but we did. And Aaliyah Boston and the All-Star votes, and Lexi Hull getting the endorsements that she's got. And that was the existing core. And then you bring in the new look Fever, Natasha Howard, a veteran, a winner, says, I choose to go here. Play with Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston. And that's it.
They're becoming a cultural movement. They're proving that passion, loyalty, and team culture matter just as much as talent. And what happens when you combine all of that? You create something unstoppable. Bonner, Clark, and the Fever are rewriting.
And then DeWanna Bonner says, yeah, champion, right? Veteran. I choose to go there, despite what was out there, despite the fact that I played for the Connecticut Sun. And that was as heated as it may get. Dejanay Carrington was on her team, tweeting up a storm after every game. And even Alyssa Thomas said, which is just great. That's great for all of those fan bases I just mentioned, right? It should be great. I know the Aces fans have had a tough time, but it should be great for any fan of the game, any fan of the sport, any fan of the WNBA actually growing. Because anybody who was focusing so much of their energy on that, come on. You don't actually love the sport. You weren't actually talking about the game.
The WNBA's future. And if the rest of the league isn't paying attention yet, they will be soon. Think about how ridiculous this all sounds. A year ago, Indiana was considered an afterthought in the WNBA.
It's not the same situation. You've got a 38-year-old vet, one of the best players in the entire WNBA history, one of the best players in WNBA history, honestly, coming to the Fever. And look, as long as she plays defense and is better than Katie Lou Samuelson, she's on the Katie Lou money, I don't care. As long as she is better than Katie Lou Samuelson, it's just a mad old situation. It's mad enough that DeWanna Bonner actually had to come out on Twitter to talk about it. She doesn't even use the app. Again, the last time she tweeted was June, after the Sky fans went berserk at her on social media because of the Alyssa Thomas choke slam and injuries.
Now, they're the hottest ticket in town, And yet, people are still trying to push this narrative that Fever fans are toxic or too intense. Really? Here's the truth.
Bonner. Like, she's 38 years old. She knows. Just turn off Twitter. And that's the thing. I would say Sydney Colson, who has the biggest Twitter fingers in the WNBA, I don't think she takes herself seriously enough to care about any of this stuff. And then the rest of the players don't use this app. So, yeah, it should be an interesting season, especially when, if any of Colson, Bonner, or Natasha Howard are good, they'll instantly be one of the most popular players. Even without DeWanna Bonner, I would have thought the Fever were one of the favourites to win last year. Even without her. So with her, surely they have to win. Win more games than they did last year. But it's like, you've basically replaced, like from last year, the first game was starting Erica Wheeler at the 1, Caitlin at the 2, Katie Lou at the 3, and Alyssa Smith and Leah Boston. Like it's just so much better. No matter.
Indiana Fever fans are engaged. They're passionate, and they're fueling something the WNBA has never seen before. Bonner standing up for them isn't just about one tweet. It's about players taking control of the conversation and refusing to let others dictate the narrative. So, let the haters keep talking. Because while they're complaining, the Fever are stacking wins. And DeWanna Bonner? She just made it loud and clear. This movement is only getting started. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss an update.